Welcome back to the Andrew Finney Show, where we help you make sense of real estate. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Andrew Finney, your real estate geek. If you need help finding a top agent where you live, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. Okay, team, so let's take a look at what we have going on in our comment section today, and let's go ahead and start answering questions. As you tune in, feel free to hit up on the chat and ask any questions that you have, and we'll go ahead and get those answers for you too. So the first question that I'm looking over, so by the way, when I'm looking over right here, I'm actually looking at different questions that have come in through the comment section. So go ahead and answer them. So Elaine Sumbler asks or says, I just walked away from a house that had asbestos and electric problems and the heater wasn't working, and they kept her down payment because I changed my mind. What can I do about that? So Elaine, in short, what you're looking at there is it wasn't your down payment that they kept. It was likely the earnest money deposit. Depending on where you are in the process at the time that you did that, whether you had already exhausted your home inspection contingency, your appraisal contingency, or your financing contingencies would dictate whether you your earnest money deposit or not. So it wasn't your down payment that you were losing in as much as it was your earnest money deposit. So depending on the terms of the contract that you and your real estate agent put together would depend on whether you lose it. So if you've exhausted your home inspection contingency, your appraisal contingency, and your financing contingency, so that's likely why they would have kept that money, Elaine. So I hope that answers your question. What can you do about it? Well, you can talk to your trusted real estate advisor, see if there's any remedies or recourses that you can have to go ahead and get your earnest money deposit back. But if you exhausted the contingencies, unfortunately, it's gone. So let's move on to the next question. All right, sorry about that. Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties in today's broadcast for some reason. I apologize about that. I will be looking into that so that when we make these YouTube live sessions that we can make them as impactful as possible without getting a disrupted stream. So Catherine Willett, thank you so much for your wonderful comment the other day about the 5 ways to improve your credit score. Really appreciate you tuning in, watching that episode. Derek Cole, thank you. Bree Wiley, thank you for your kudos as well. Oh, wow. Spidey Sense FTA, thank you so much for all the comments and additional information that you provided on the 5 ways to improve your credit score fast. Really, really appreciate your insights about becoming an authorized user on another person's card and some tips and tricks that you had about that. Really appreciate you reaching out. That's how we learn and grow together. Jason Mark, thank you for your wonderful comment. Rainbow Boy I-95-1, thank you. Jeremy Tintis, thank you. I definitely try to be as informative as possible to help you guys make a well-informed decision. Christine C., we've been seeing you a lot, so really appreciate you, by the way. Okay. As comments roll in, I got the live feed up so that we can go ahead and answer any questions that come in. Again, very simple to do. Just go ahead and write in the chat box what your questions are, and let's get those answered for you. Michael Petty, yes, I'm in Las Vegas. Would love to meet up with you. I did respond, answer the questions that you had, and also gave you my contact information as well. Christine C., thank you for the props on liking the live streams. Kimberly Powell, thank you. Suites are a must. Yes, you're absolutely right. You definitely always want to have a trusted real estate advisor with you whenever you're visiting a new construction. It's very, very helpful to have them with you, guide you through the new construction process, and also assist with any of the negotiations that might be possible, and also with understanding what the timeline looks like, helping you with understanding your design studio options and which options you might want to have in your new construction that's going to give you a better resale. I know it's probably one of the things that seems like it's the furthest thing from your mind whenever you're contracting a new home construction, but always approach purchasing a home, whether it's resale or a new home construction, with the idea that at some point you may want to sell it. So make sure that when you do those options, you're selecting the options that are going to add additional value to your property and that you're going to get the best bang for the buck whenever you do sell. Like here in Las Vegas, Nevada, most people sell on average every 5 to 7 years. Different parts of the country, it averages around 10 to 12 years in their home before they sell. At the same time, at some point, most people sell their home. So be wise about your design studio selections. Okay, what else do we have? Vintage Southern Picks, Florence S. Thank you so much for chiming in on the new construction versus pre-owned homes, which is better video. Really appreciate your input. Bordeaux Rose, thank you for chiming in on the 7 tips for house hunting with kids. Very helpful there. Very happy that you were able to get into your new home. By the way, Bordeaux, congratulations. Curious Cat 320, thank you for saying that you'd be a million thumbs up if you could. Very kind of you. Certainly appreciate your support. Please just go ahead and share the channel around and along with your favorite videos with your family and friends. Derek Jones, thank you. Louis Samuels, I'm glad that we had the timing just right for you with answering your questions on the last minute credit checks before closing. Just to bring that up again and bring it full circle when we're talking about, Hi, Brunhilde Morris. Hi, good to see you. So with last minute credit checks before closing, they are a real thing and they happen as a soft credit pool. Generally about 3 to 5 days before closing, your credit score is going to be checked again to make sure there's no changes. So right here, this is very, very real. If somebody refinances like an auto or refinances anything, gets a new credit card, takes out credit, new credit, or goes and purchases and charges some stuff up, it'll throw off what's called your debt to income ratios. That's why lenders are going to go ahead and perform a soft pull credit check right before closing. If the numbers don't make sense, if the credit score has dropped below the credit score that you needed to qualify for your home loan, unfortunately, you run the very real risk and the very real chance of losing not only your home, but your earnest money deposit as well. So please, whenever you get ready to purchase a home and you get your loan pre-approval stuff sorted, make sure that you stay consistent and don't apply for any new credits. We don't want to see you get hurt. We only want to see you succeed. And please be sure to stay consistent throughout the closing process. Once you close on your new home, if you want to do a refinance, get new credit cards, go buy new furniture, what have you, feel free to do it at that time. But wait until you close. So first of all, the first priority is getting your home, and then you can get your home, and then you can add to it, okay? Didon James asks, is the certificate of eligibility the same as the one being used for the GI Bill enrollment for school? Didon James, that's actually a really good question. In short, no. And it's 2 separate different things right here. Whenever you get your certificate of eligibility for your education benefits through the VA, it's entirely different than getting a VA certificate of eligibility for your VA home loan benefit. So in short, if you have questions about that, please let me know. Very simple to do. In the video that you watched, I should have had it in the show more description for you, how you can order it yourself, or to get in touch with a trusted real estate advisor and local loan officer to best assist you in getting your VA certificate of eligibility. Let's see. Talis for Angels, thank you so much. She says, great advice, thanks on the final walkthrough tips for the home. Thank you. Rob M, I see you several times making really wonderful calls. Thank you so much. Okay, so, hey Drew, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's see. Fong Yang, thank you so much for tuning in and commenting on the closing day for home buyers and what you should know. I'm very glad that the video was able to assist you specifically with keeping your debt to income ratios consistent. Yes, it really is that important. And yes, you really need to do that. That's what we were just talking about, that lenders will be looking. Brunhilde, thank you so much for the wonderful comment there. Thanking me for the videos. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. But it's very, very important to make sure that you realize that your lender is going to be doing a soft credit pool right before the end, because it can keep you in contract, or it can, if you make a mistake and you get the refinance or you go shopping or something like that, you can lose the home. Far better to get the home and then go shopping than to go shopping without the home first. It's really, really important. I think that's going to be a very clear message of today's live video here. Okay. Kenny B, thank you. That's pretty funny. Have I ever been told I look like the actor Matt Damon? Well, who's to say that Matt Damon doesn't look like me, right? It's kind of funny, but thank you so much for making that observation. It's pretty good, and you're very welcome for the great videos. He was commenting on the closing day for home buyers video too. What I'm doing when I'm looking over to my side here is I'm actually just reading through some of the comments to see if there's any great questions that were asked that we can put in today's episode as we're waiting for other great questions to come up. Gianna Delphin, you're absolutely right. You said, thanks for the helpful info. As a buyer, it's always good to put yourself in the seller's shoes and not be greedy in terms of contingencies. Everyone wants to be on the winning end of a deal. That is absolutely true. So she's talking about the 12 negotiation tips when buying a home video that I made. So she's absolutely right. You don't want to be greedy as a seller and you don't want to be greedy as a buyer. We as people are always stronger together than we are not. So having said that, if we're practical and we're realistic with our expectations and everybody understands, hey, this is going to be fair market value at the end of the day, no one's going to get hurt that way. And being realistic with the contingency and the terms only helps everybody, because when that person sells a home, they're going to become a what? More than likely, they're going to become a buyer. So karma will come full circle. So by putting good energy in the world and treating others with respect and dignity, as we always should as human beings, right? As our species, we should always be taking care of each other and looking out for each other, not looking how we can get over on each other. So negotiations are simply a conversation. A seller puts their thought process out there by listing the home at a certain price. That's what they like to get for it. A buyer puts their thought process out there when they make the offer as far as what they're looking at, what they'd like to purchase that home for, right? So what happens at the end of the day, there's going to be something in the middle. Now, either that seller overpriced their home, they underpriced that home, or they priced to the market. Depending on where they price their home, so it should dictate how you make your offer and the kind of terms that you offer. I see another great question. So if you have to choose, would you take a 2-car garage or a 1-car garage and having an 8x8 room where the other part of the garage would have been in the 2 or 1? So Drew, that's actually a really good question. So just to repeat that, he's asking, if I had to choose, would I take a 2-car garage or a 1-car garage if having an 8x8 room where the other part of the garage would have been in the 2 cars? So you know what? That's a great point, Drew. I would take the bedroom over the garage space, to be honest with you, because generally you're going to get some more resale value out of the bedrooms. Bedrooms are generally worth about $10,000 to $15,000 per bedroom on the appraised value. Just depends on the location of the situation. That being said, Drew, if, and this is a big if in the area that you're purchasing this property in, garages have a bigger impact than the bedrooms, then you would go that direction. But if the bedrooms have a bigger impact and people are looking for, let's say it's the difference between a 2-bed and a 3-bed property, then you're probably going to want to slide in the area of a 3-bed, 1-car garage, because people can make do by parking the car in the driveway. But if they don't have the room, maybe they don't buy it at all. You're very welcome, my friend. Joby3Q, hi Andrew, can someone renegotiate, or is there a way to lower property tax? There's this home I'm interested in, but the tax is $22,000. Wow, Joby3Q, that's an amazing amount of money right there. $22,000 in property tax. Where are you? Tell us where you are so we can let everybody know about that property tax. So, in short, unfortunately, no. The property tax rates are set through the county, and they're subject to being reassessed. It's a really important thing to know when you buy a home. Your property taxes are generally reassessed once a year, and like here in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's generally around, oh, you're in Roselle, New Jersey. Yeah, that explains it. New Jersey's got some very high tax rates over there. So thank you for bringing that up. And unfortunately, with that implementation of some of the Trump legislation on the tax code, I know that they've now capped off the property tax and a lot of the deductions that you can get up to $10,000. So unfortunately, you can write off up to $10,000, but you can't write off the full 12. And I know that can make or break different people given the circumstances, especially in the face of increasing property taxes as home appreciation goes up. Back to the point I was making a moment ago, Joby, is normally your property tax is reassessed every year, and it's important to know that. So whenever you reassess the property tax, it's based upon the county. It's not us as real estate agents, it's not the loan officer, it's not the mortgage companies doing this. It's strictly the county that you reside in and their reassessment and the time frame that they go through with reassessing their property tax. It's always going to be the percentage, but if the home appreciates by $100,000, your property tax is 2%. Then that would mean an additional $2,000 in taxes for the next period. I hope that helps you better plan out your property tax strategy. Unfortunately, I wish I could give you an answer saying that you could renegotiate it. To my knowledge, there is no way to renegotiate property tax. Different states have different benefits, like here in Nevada, if you're a combat disabled veteran or if you served in the military, you're eligible for property tax credits, either full or in half or in all. It just depends. So different states have different things. So if you're a veteran or if you're severely disabled or if you're elderly, you might have an opportunity to mitigate your property tax. just look into the circumstances and find out from the county what exemptions might exist. Best way to do that, Jovi, simply type in property tax exemptions, Roselle, New Jersey. Okay, let us know what you find out, by the way. Let's see, Drew, can we talk about... That's actually a really interesting question, Drew. So can you tell me about Trex decks and why they are so good and the disadvantages and advantages of adding a deck? So Trex, like Trex, Drew? I'm unfamiliar with the Trex deck, to be honest with you. Now, the advantages of adding a deck on the property is because it increases the outdoor living space. I can answer that question for you. Increasing the outdoor living space is always going to be beneficial into the resale value. It's going to help you with the resale value, and it's going to help people see themselves living there. And as the people are able to help see themselves living there, obviously it's going to increase the appeal of that property. So adding the deck, if it doesn't have one, very, very, very helpful. Unfortunately, Drew, I'll have to do some research on the Trex deck. I'm not familiar, to be honest with you, what that is exactly. But in short, whenever it comes to adding a deck or not adding a deck, definitely add the deck if you can. Oh, okay. It's where you live. Okay, cool. Okay. Let's go back through the comments, see what other great questions we had come in this past week. Okay, so that's a really good question. So DRme98 had said, Andrew, I mentioned permits. He's referring to the video that I made with 5 ways to spot a lemon house. So it's a really good video. In case you missed it, you might want to go back and hit it up after this live session. So he asked me, Andrew, you mentioned permits. We are looking into a house we are interested in, and we called to check about how much the property tax has gone up due to the renovation. But when we spoke to the local office, we were told that no permits were filed. So he said he has a 2-part question. Number 1, is it true that if you're living in the property when the renovation happens, you don't need permits? And number 2, is it safe to buy a house that has no permits for all the renovations? Thank you. So number 1, if permits are required, it doesn't matter if you live in the house or not live in the house. If permits are required, permits are required. And you're going to need to go ahead and have those permits pulled. If you purchase a home that did not have permits pulled on it when it should have had pulled permits on it, what's going to happen is that you're going to become the legal owner of that property. When you become the legal owner of that property, it's now your responsibility to go ahead and have those permits taken care of. So if that's a house that you really, really like and you're willing to pay for it, maybe it makes sense. At the same time, if it's not a house that you're all that keen on and you were just doing some due diligence on, you might want to find yourself another house, because that may not be the best option for you unless the seller agrees to pay for any permits of the work. The reason being is it's hard to say whether the work was done correctly or not. Okay, it looks like we lost it and we're buffering. Sorry about that. Don't know what's going on with the connection today. So going back to the permits from DRme98 question, very, very good questions about permits. Yes, you need to get the permits. Short answer, sweet answer. If that renovations need permits, not every renovation needs a permit, but if the renovations in question do need it, then yes, you need to have it. Second question that he was asking, is it safe to buy a house that has no permits for all the renovations? Goes back into the first question. If the permits are required for the renovation that was done, then you need to have the permits. If the renovations didn't require a permit, then not a big deal. But you need to make sure that whatever permits were required